One Piece is arguably the most popular manga series of all time, followed by probably only Dragon Ball in terms of popularity and sales. I mean, if I showed someone this character, or any of these characters, or this symbol, they'd probably say, hey, that's from One Piece. Now, if you aren't familiar with One Piece, it's about a teenage boy with the ability to stretch his body like rubber, and he wants to become king of the pirates, and he sails around the world adventuring and gaining new allies and enemies along the way. There's a lot of popular characters and creative elements in One Piece, so it's no wonder the story has been going on for over 20 years now, and shows no signs of stopping. But I do have to mention that the author Eiichiro Oda posted a comment several months ago saying he wants his beloved series to end within 5 years, but then again, he also said he thought the story would only last about 5 years, so take it with a grain of salt. While many people consider One Piece a perfect series full of funny characters, cool moments, and interesting story direction, there is one serious flaw, at least in my eyes, and I wonder if any of you have the same gripe with it as me. The flashbacks. Oh god, how I hate the flashbacks. One Piece is full of flashbacks, and now it's expected for any major story arc to have at least one long flashback. For example, with the Wano Country arc that's currently taking place, there was a flashback in the manga about the character Oden Kozuki and how he came in conflict with the main antagonists of that arc, Kaido and Orochi. Now, I honestly don't have any issues with any of these characters, but my complaint is that this flashback didn't do anything to advance the story. It just gave background information, and we had to wait for the flashback to end to get back to the main story and the characters people actually care about. Not only that, but whenever the new chapters of the series is a flashback, I sigh in despair since I know it's going to take at least a month for the flashback to end so we can get back to the main plot of the story. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad if the flashbacks were actually interesting, but in the past several arcs, Wano, Dressrosa, and Fishman Island, they all had flashbacks that I couldn't care less about and just wanted to be over. Now don't get me wrong, I understand that the flashbacks can be important to introduce important characters, but I feel the One Piece flashbacks get dragged out way too long. For example, Bleach, another popular manga published in the same magazine Shonen Jump, had a noteworthy flashback called Turn Back the Pendulum, where it explained the relationship between several characters who had already appeared, like the main antagonist, Sosuke Aizen, and my personal favorite character of that series, Kisuke Uehara, along with these other characters. The backstory it provided was interesting, and it related to plot elements that tied back to the main story in an important way. Another example is Naruto. There are a lot of flashbacks in this series as well, and they're just as frequent as One Piece, maybe less. But the main difference is that you actually care about the characters involved, and the flashbacks tie to the overall story in the same way Bleach does, so it never seems tedious. One Piece is different. Most of these flashbacks are involved with a specific story arc, and it has nothing to do with the main characters involved in the overall story. I mean, none of the Straw Hat crew are involved, just some character that is important to the current plot line. But it's not a character people have had time to get attached to, unlike Luffy, Zoro, or any of the other characters. Like, are you honestly telling me that you're going to care about this character when he or she hasn't appeared at all before and only been mentioned in brief moments? I get that some background information is needed, but One Piece goes overboard with how much gets crammed into the flashbacks and results in them going on for way too long. I feel like the author purposely does this so he can have a break from the main story and stretches out the flashback just so he can come up with new ideas. Since I don't want to include any spoilers for people who aren't caught up to the current chapter of the manga, I'll examine a flashback from a previous story arc, Fishman Island. This flashback takes place between chapters 621 and 627 of the manga, and episodes 540 and 547 of the anime, with episode 542 being a special crossover episode. Now, this flashback gives background information to the current plot, and to make this brief, the residents of Fishman Island experienced discrimination in the past, and two characters, Queen Otohime of the royal family and Fisher Tiger, the leader of the Sun Pirates, both tried to change that in different ways with varying results. This flashback goes over the history of what the two did, and you see characters here and there who have also appeared in the main plot. Now, I get that the author wanted to flesh out the setting, but did it have to take so damn long? I mean, look at it this way. A lot of manga stories are released chapter by chapter on a weekly basis, unless there's some reason like the author needs a break for health reasons, which has become pretty common for the writer of One Piece, or there's something going on in Japan. Anime episodes only come out on a weekly basis as well, unless there are filler episodes, which I could do a whole another video on. Anyway, considering the chapters 621 to 627, that's 7 weeks or almost 2 months of flashbacks. 7 weeks until we can get back to the main story, and the anime has it worse off at 8 weeks. I feel like this time could have been cut in half, or at least reduced. I mean, was it really necessary to have the adventures of the Sun Pirates stretch out for 5 chapters? It could have gone on for probably 3 to 4 at most. Well, One chapter could have been the intro, another could have been meeting Koala, the slave girl, and returning her, and the last could have been Fisher Tiger getting killed. There, done, move on. I guess in general I have a problem when the story of a series moves into a different direction, away from characters people like, to explore something I personally have no interest in. For example, in My Hero Academia, or Boku no Hero Academia, there's a story arc about the villains coming together and making a large group to fight the heroes. This is a story arc I skimmed completely and skipped several chapters, because these aren't characters that I care about or are interested in. It didn't really advance the plot, it just showed the antagonists were getting organized, which I felt could have just been a couple lines of background information, or maybe like 1 or 2 chapters. If they were main villains, they would be different, but even the person who's supposed to be considered the main villain, Tamura, only appears in less than a quarter of the chapters, while the main character, Deku, has appeared in at least half of the chapters. Getting back to One Piece, besides the flashbacks, I actually don't mind when the plot moves to another area away from the main story, because I find the subplots interesting. I mean, I'm really curious about the blank entry and the world government subplots, and hope they get explained soon. I usually reread chapters about these plots several times over when new ones get released, and I also don't mind if the flashbacks are just a few panels or pages, but several chapters seems way too much. I wish this would get changed in the future, but then again, like I mentioned in the beginning, One Piece is one of the most popular manga series of all time, so why fix something if the formula isn't broken? But that's just my opinion.